It's a real pleasure to greet you here in Dublin Castle. And as I was explaining a bit of the history along the way, this is really our main state building in many ways. Dublin has always been a European city, a city founded by the Vikings, probably Danish, possibly Norwegian. And this is where the Normans built their castle and was the centre of British power in Ireland for a very long time. And it was in this castle almost 100 years ago when the British government handed over control of the country to the provisional government. It's also the place where we inaugurate our presidents, the place where we greeted Pope Francis when he came here and other state dignitaries, and also a place where we've held our citizens' conventions and the results of referendums. Some of the seminal moments of the past 10 years were when the results of referendums on marriage equality and the Eighth Amendment were announced in that courtyard there. So a very special place for us, and really special for us that you're here this evening. You have arrived at a time of great political excitement. I did assure President von der Leyen that the protesters that greeted us today were not there for her, they were there for me. But I believe they made you feel welcome anyway. And we wanted to make sure that your visit was memorable, and I hope we've succeeded. And I know that you're somebody who likes singing. Indeed, we're told that you sang with your family for a while, or so we found out on YouTube. So we do have a special treat for you later with an a cappella group. But it is a particular pleasure to welcome you here as the first female president of the European Commission. And as you highlighted back in July, your election came exactly 40 years after Simone Veil was elected as the first female president of the European Parliament. Her vision was for a fairer, more united Europe, and it's one that continues to inspire us today and inspires us to overcome barriers and constraints. And I know it's very much reflected in your own life and career, first as a doctor and then as a politician. Not an obvious combination perhaps, but one that I wholeheartedly endorse. And you may also know that 16 years ago, this castle was a very important place in European history because it's in this castle that we marked the formal accession of 10 new countries into the European Union. That occurred under the Irish presidency of the time, when those 10 Central and Eastern European states, and also Cyprus and Malta, joined the European Union, bringing 75 million people into the EU, becoming citizens at that transformative moment for the Union and our continent. I think on that day of welcomes, we couldn't have foreseen that one day one of the member states would actually leave. And Ireland will always be grateful for the solidarity shown by the EU institutions and by our fellow member states over the past few years as we've grappled with Brexit. And we now look forward to continuing that work with President von der Leyen and her team, including the exceptional Michel Barnier, to successfully implement the withdrawal agreement and also the protocol on Ireland and Northern Ireland. Finding a solution that worked for Northern Ireland and for all of our island was crucial for us. And when the UK leaves the European Union on the 31st of January, it will do so in an orderly fashion. There'll be no hard border, citizens' rights will be protected, and the common travel area will remain in place. And this could not have been achieved without the support of the European Commission and all our European partners. So we are all very grateful for that, and thank you. This is also a significant event in that in the past few days we've seen the restoration of the all-party, cross-community power-sharing institutions in Northern Ireland after an absence of 3 years. And that's a hugely significant development, and I want to pay tribute to all of those involved, including all of the 5 major political parties in Northern Ireland, many of whom are represented here tonight. President, as you know, doesn't need to be from our conversation earlier, as you well know, it's going to be during your stewardship of the European Commission that the parameters of the new relationship between the EU and the UK will be defined. And we both share an ambitious vision for that future relationship. The next step is to negotiate a free trade agreement between the European Union, including Ireland and the UK, that protects our jobs, our businesses, our rural communities, our fishing sector, and also our economy. President, dieses neue Jahr bringt viele Herausforderungen. Wie ich gesagt habe, der Brexit steht bevor und zum ersten Mal wird ein Mitgliedstaat der EU verlassen. Mit dem Erstarken des Populismus verurteilen uns Menschen und versuchen, unsere Gesellschaft und unseren Kontinent zu teilen. Aber ich bin optimistisch. Wir können nur morgen eine bessere Zukunft haben, wenn wir heute daran arbeiten, sie zu erschaffen. Europa ist als Idee ein Erfolg, denn es ist der beste Weg, um Hoffnung in einer ungewissen Welt zu wecken. Es existiert nicht trotz, sondern wegen dieser Herausforderungen. I was saying earlier I find the long words hard to pronounce, but ich glaube, dass wir zusammen erfolgreich bestehen würden und in den Jahren, die vor uns liegen, noch sehr viel mehr erreichen würden. President von der Leyen, you're very aware, I know, of the challenges that we face. And in response, you've set demanding goals for your Commission and the Member States. We all know the benefits of having a good team in Commissioner Hogan. You have somebody who will serve the people of Europe well as Trade Commissioner, as he did as Agriculture Commissioner before. And I strongly believe that long-standing European programmes that have worked should continue to be well funded in the next 7-year EU budget. We very much support a modernised CAP, one that will deliver on climate action and on the environment, while ensuring food security and also a thriving rural economy. And we're willing to increase our contribution to the European budget if it protects those programmes that we'd hold dear, not just the Common Agricultural Policy, but also Cohesion, Horizon and Erasmus+, because they deliver demonstrable added value for citizens across Europe. And that includes, of course, continued funding for Northern Ireland and for our own border region under the Peace Plus programme. The EU is probably the greatest peace project in world history, and one tangible manifestation of that is the Union's continuing support for the Good Friday Agreement and for cross-border cooperation. Credum gurvi an spirit yerfach agus credif a dochi níos fiar becúis le hinspread an idéal orpig agoni. Murach an orpach ní curú ardir san orv a mask náisiún na crina. Tom and Week, the Wall Stott orpig, as an lúpartíocht agus an ara a hug siad doing the ling corrata Brexit. Devnín sin an fá a aon teortha beaga torva as a malreacht den AE. Anish tá deisiguing orpach na tauki a havlu. So let us tonight imagine the future of Europe. I think past generations instinctively knew why European unity was such a good idea, because they understood that it could bring an end to centuries of war on our continent and set us on a path to peace, democracy, the rule of law and prosperity. And we saw that happen after the Second World War. They also knew that a united Europe could help defeat communism and bring down the Iron Curtain and bring democracy and economic freedom to Central and Eastern Europe as it has. But I think for younger people today, the horrors of World War and the evils of fascism and communism are not in their memory. And for them, Europe needs a new project, a new raison d'etre. And I believe that dealing with the challenges that can only be overcome by multilateral collective action must be that raison d'etre. And I think climate action should be first among them. Others, of course, include security, the regulation of large corporations, many of which are now larger than states. And I want to take this opportunity to commend you for your leadership that you've shown in publishing the European Green Deal. And you'll have a friend in Ireland in driving that forward. I think there's the potential to unlock a new wave of investment, innovation and entrepreneurship to provide economic opportunities of tomorrow. So it's not just a good environmental policy, but also a good economic one as well. President von der Leyen, on behalf of the Irish people and from behalf of all of us here tonight, I extend to you the warmest of Irish welcomes. Céad míle fáilte, and I'd like to invite you now to say a few words. Thank you.